short video on how to assemble my helmet halves for X-Wing. I don't do mine uniquely different than most everybody else. There's lots of good videos on how to assemble X-Wing helmets. There's one guy that has really great videos. But I'm going to do this one because I install post screws in my helmet. So the skull cap with the sliding visor is removable. So it's easy to take out if you want to replace padding, like if you hot glue padding or something in it. Or if you want to change the lens, because my lenses are also bolted on. So if you want to change the lens to a different color, or yours gets all scratched up, you need to replace it. Makes it super easy to take it out. Anyway, let's do this. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take measuring tape and I'm going to get a Sharpie, and I've worked out most of these details. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the tape to the top here, and we're going to measure out to 8 1/4 inches right there. Just going to put a little mark right there, and then from the back I'm going to do 6 1/2 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, just right around the same area. And we're going to want to do that on both of these. So we go again, 8 1/4. And then 6 1/2. Once you have those done, take a trusty Dremel, or you can also use a knife if you want, if you don't have one. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to route this out. So it doesn't have to be super pretty. Get yourself a deburring tool. I'll put a link on Amazon on where you can get one. It's a tool I use on the daily for virtually everything. I use it for all kinds of stuff, but it's great with plastic. So basically what we're doing here is, like a few other builders, I use a solid strip on the inside, as you'll see here in a second. And we just want to make sure that when we put the helmet halves together, there's going to be a space in there so that the head of the post sits totally flush, because when you put the top strip on, it won't bulge right there. So anyway, so we're going to take a strip like this. I've already pre-bent it. It's actually quite bent. Take a little Scotch-Brite, and we're just going to scuff it up a little bit, just to help it bite a little bit. And I use this stuff. I'm actually almost out of it. If you're in LA or Orange County, it's currently banned now, but you can also use CA glue. I don't usually recommend E6000 for anything ever for any reason, but you can use that as well. So we're just going to put some of this in here. I usually start at the bottom, and we're going to clamp it in place. And you're going to, I like to tightly roll it up in there, so it's touching as much of the inside surface as possible. As you can kind of see, not too much of a gap. And another thing I like to do while I'm waiting for this, so it stays nice and tight, inside here is that way I don't have to hold it. Then you have a nice tight seam here on the inside. Make sure it's all the way on there. And just for good measure, I usually run some up in here in this seam like that. That just helps strengthen the bond in between. And then we'll just let that sit for a couple minutes. I'll fast forward through the waiting part. Okay, so now we're gonna put them together. Make sure the backs line up. Clamp it. Make sure the fronts line up. And then clamp it. Just going to use another piece of tape to help hold them a little bit tighter in the middle. And then just for safety on this, because my ABS cement is pretty much gone, I'll go ahead and CA glue the inside seam to help it stay together. Another piece of tape certainly will not hurt. It's nice and tight. And we'll let that set for a couple minutes. Now that we're going to put these guys in, so the trick is, so we measured 8 1/4 here and 6 1/2 back here, and it's okay that they don't really line up if you get them off a little bit, because we're going to mark it again. At 8 1/4. Mark it here in the middle-ish, and 6 1/2. Middle-ish. And then with a ruler, we're going to go and we're going to mark 1 inch, because it's 2 inches wide, and then it'll give us more or less the relative center. Now for this, there's 2 different sizes. There's an 1 1/2 inch, and then there's a 2 inch. I get these from Ace, but you can probably order them on McMaster-Carr and stuff. These are aluminum. The steel ones seem to have a taller mushroom head on it, so I try to stay with the flattest ones. So now we're going to take a 3/16 drill bit, put it in the center. Then after you drill it out, give it a little twist, because these are just slightly larger than a 3/16. I like to deburr the holes, front and back. Note to self, get a new 3/16, because that should go right through there like butter. So now we have a hole that's going to go through. I went a little wide on it because you kind of want it to be like a friction fit in there. But that's okay. Now that we got this right here, we're going to put a little bit of glue here. Push it down through there and just put some glue up on top. Let the glue go where it wants to for a moment, then we can hit it. I personally also put some glue around the shank in here on the inside. I don't know if you can see that, to help hold it in place. Give a little squirt of that. Wipe it on down. And that's basically it for this particular video. This is just about assembling the two, notching these out so you make sure that there's enough space, depending on how you trim the helmet, for the head of that to fit in there with no obstruction. Because when you put the top strip on, like this top strip, as you can see, it'll go right on and you will never see it. No protrusion, not sticking up at all. And then for the skull cap on the inside, my skull caps come pre-drilled with the front hole. So if you're totally building the kit, I'll do another short video a little bit later on how to drill the second hole for back here. It's super easy. But I'll do a video demonstrating on how to do that too. And that's basically it for this. If anybody has any questions, hit me up on Facebook, or you can email me at pilotbay1, the number 1, at verizon.net. Thanks for watching.